Welcome to the No Sugarcoating Podcast. I am Amber Romaniuk, emotional eating, digestive, and hormone expert. I am also the founder of amberapproved.ca. I support professional women achieve optimal health through mindful eating, self-care, and overcoming self-sabotage with food. This podcast provides the honest truth on what you really need to create body freedom. The No Sugarcoating Podcast provides information on healthy living, lifestyle changes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your healthcare practitioner regarding your health and nutrition program. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 260 of the No Sugarcoating Podcast. I'm super excited because this week I'm joined by my guest, Dr. Erin Stokes, and we're exploring all things turmeric. So really excited because I think that this is just such a beneficial, spice. There's so many benefits of it that I'm excited to dive into today with her. So we are really going to be going through the history of turmeric, turmeric versus curcumin, culinary uses of turmeric, health benefits of it. There's so many great things here. So I'm really excited to share this episode. So right before we dive in, be sure to check out the show notes for today's episode at amberapproved.ca/podcast/260. And be sure to listen and subscribe on all podcast apps. You can also click the link in the show notes to go and do so. And be sure to tune in to the rest of the show notes at the end of today's episode. So to introduce Dr. Erin. So Dr. Erin Stokes' personal mission is to empower people with the inspiration and tools to change their lives. Erin combines her experience in private practice as a naturopathic doctor with extensive background in the natural products industry. In her role as medical director at MegaFood, she has the opportunity to educate on health and wellness topics via webinars, podcasts, and radio shows. She is a registered naturopathic doctor in the state of Colorado and lives with her family in Boulder. So turmeric. Turmeric is a very, I think, important subject to talk about and to give people a history. And we're going to dive into some different questions and exploration. I love turmeric, whether it's cooking with it or, taking it as a, in a supplement form. But why don't you start first by sharing more of the history of turmeric? Because I think it's always great to know where something has come from.
Absolutely. I want to show you, I've got my turmeric right here, my little
nice.
jar that I use all the time. Turmeric is this ancient plant that has a really important place in modern life. And it's actually been utilized in India for over 4,000 years. So it's this brightly colored root that's a cousin to ginger. And it's, besides being used in cooking in India, it's actually also really widely revered in the Hindu religion in India. And so it's been used, it's really interesting because turmeric, if you think about turmeric being a cousin of ginger, I think I say that because I know a lot of people are more familiar with ginger. So it kind of demystifies turmeric a little bit. It's a root similar to ginger. It's just like you see in this jar, it's kind of like a bright orange, whereas we all know ginger's got that like beautiful yellow. But they would use turmeric and still use turmeric like in curries, as well as medicinally. So it has this really neat kind of food herb continuum, because when you look at turmeric, it's really a food.
Oh, 100%. And, sometimes, especially, now that we're getting into cooler weather here anyway, I'll do like slice up some fresh ginger root and fresh turmeric root and do a bit of a warm drink. And it's so good. It's got that kind of warming flavor, right? With both of those combined together. And it's a great way for me to kind of get up and wake up my digestion. So that's one of my favorite things to do with the actual root. And I love that you have your little jar. I know for a lot of people, they go, well, I love the benefits and maybe I love the taste, but I don't love the fact that it could stain it can stain easily in my shirt or, the counter. And so I find, that's where I've even had a lot of clients say, is there something else I can do other than the powder? And that's where I find the roots really nice because it doesn't spill everywhere, right? Compared to necessarily the powder sometimes, especially if you're wearing, a bright or a lighter colored shirt that day and you're doing your food prep in the kitchen. So yeah, it's nice to have options.
It is. And, interesting, just a quick note that connects to that is that turmeric, there's that beautiful hue and color, but also that potential to stain. One of the things that turmeric's been used for historically, which a lot of people don't know, is a natural coloring agent.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the mustard that Americans have or Canadians have that we all, might be having is actually, it's like a natural coloring agent, which is kind of cool because, you imagine like some of these dyes, D&C, like instead to using turmeric root because it has that brilliant color. But to that point, it does have that ability to stain. And, it's some of the superpower plants that I think of that I love to use. They do, right?
Yeah.
Because another favorite of mine is beets. And sometimes I'll be putting up beets because I'm going to roast them. And then, oh my gosh, look at my hands. Like if I'm going out for an event or something, I think, oh boy, well, I guess that's the life of a naturopathic doctor, right?
Yeah, I hear you. And someone who's in the kitchen, right? Like I so relate to the beet thing. And I love that you mentioned using these as natural colorings, because when I make icing for my cupcakes, I'll use turmeric for the yellow. And it's beautiful, especially for like a fall theme, a yellow, and then matcha for green. But it's super fun to use these things and, experiment in the kitchen. So you've briefly touched on this, but now in modern day, what are some of the most modern uses that people are using turmeric for now?
Yes. So, still Indian curries.
Yes.
Right? Many of us are enjoying and loving, whether we're in India or we're in somewhere else. I know that I love Indian curry. So just keeping in mind that turmeric is a primary ingredient of Indian curry. And so people in India are often getting these great amounts of turmeric every day, just in their daily nutrition. You had talked about making this beautiful warming drink. And a lot of people, I don't know if you remember, especially like a year or two ago, but it's still popular. There was a golden milk literally craze of different recipes online. And, some people would do it this way or that way. So that's kind of fun, especially in the fall and winter months, to customize your own kind of golden milk drink, whether you use the fresh root and you can combine it. Like I got my ginger right here. I realized I didn't have turmeric, but, you can use fresh ginger root, which we love, or turmeric. And then I think another thing that I like to do in our family is my 14-year-old son really loves something super simple. We just call turmeric rice.
Oh, really yes. So good.
Brown rice. I put in some coconut oil and I add turmeric, and it's a beautiful color. It's also a way to get turmeric in our diet that's super easy. I mean, I literally add that powder I showed you just right at the end. And my son's always like, oh, I love turmeric rice. It's just just a simple, easy thing. But I think, for many of us, if we want to get meaningful daily amounts of turmeric, because this is a question as a naturopathic doctor I get asked all the time, right? Can I get enough turmeric just, by incorporating it here and there in my nutrition? And I think that's such a good thing to do, because food first. Right. I mean, food's always first. It would never just turn to a supplement first. But if you do want to get, and that's part of the beauty, I think, of a supplement, is that you'll get a specific, meaningful potency on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's actually, I'm glad that you brought this up, because I think a lot of people go, well, if I'm going to add, the turmeric in a spice form or like a powder form or a root form, how much is a good medicinal dose compared to a capsule, and how does that differ, and how do I know if I'm getting enough? And I think that, I want, if you can elaborate just a bit more on that, because, sometimes, yes, food first, but sometimes it's physically impossible to get the dose that would be palatable in the food, that you can also then, get the best of both worlds and do some in your food and have that in a capsule.
Yes. So you honestly, Amber, you would have to eat a lot of turmeric, a lot. Like turmeric rice is not going to cut it.
Right.
Also, it's that balance between making your dish just palatable and to yourself and your loved ones, and also deciding, how much turmeric you want to get. It's just, you would have to put in so much turmeric that, for me personally, I do supplement with turmeric every day, and I love incorporating into my nutrition too, but I just know that For example, if I was eating Indian curry every single day and maybe even having it, which people do for multiple meals, like for having it for lunch and having it for dinner, then maybe, but that's just not the reality for most people. So I think that it's nice to have those supplement options, because I really do believe that turmeric, we know it's this ancient plant and it has this place in modern times. And that's one of the things that I just love to talk about and also educate and just think about, is that there are these traditions. Turmeric has been used in Ayurveda, which is actually having this very interesting and neat resurgence right now. People are getting very curious about Ayurveda, and Ayurveda literally translates into the science of life. That's what that word means. So it's just the science of life and healthy living. And we have these wisdom traditions. Ayurveda is one of them. Traditional Chinese medicine is another one. And what we find is that modern science and modern learnings are often validating the use of a plant that dates back so far, like long ago. And it's one of the things that I think when people are more connected to, and that's why I like to have the visuals too, because I like to connect people to this ancient wisdom of this plant. So it doesn't just feel like something you pick up in a store and it's just sort of has this generic feeling.
Right.
I really believe that there's power, empowering people with education, which is a big part of what I love to do, but power in people really knowing and understanding, like, what's this all about? Like, what is this plant? Why am I taking it? Or why would I take it? Or why am I taking it? And when you're taking it with this understanding and this knowledge, it just shifts things. I see it all the time. First of all, you're more likely to remember to do it every day. And also to just really understand like how it's working with you, and that you're part of something bigger that dates back thousands of years.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I think too, when you learn some of the history and benefits and you do receive more of that education, and you start experimenting with how to use it, there's this deeper appreciation from where it's come from. Right. And I don't know, it's almost like when you can go to the farm and talk to the farmer and see, how they grow the food. It's the same with knowing the history of this and where it comes from, and the medicinal benefits, and that there's many ways that can be used. There's like this deeper connection that you end up having with your food or your supplement or whatever it is that you're taking in, because you're now aware. And even I know when I'm like, getting local produce from somewhere and I'm preparing a meal, I just feel a deeper sense of connection and gratitude with that meal or that drink when I'm using something that I know where it came from, and I know the benefits of it, right? Like you feel this deeper connection.
You do. Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why I have a 14-year-old son, like I mentioned before. And when he was in grade school, I used to volunteer in the school garden. And some of the kids had the opportunity, like our son, of having a garden at home and seeing things grow. And other kids didn't as much. And watching a little second grader pull a carrot out of the ground for the first time in his or her life, and seeing how the reaction of making that connection, like they've seen carrots in the store probably, but they never knew. Then they pull, as the fronds on the top, and this is ready to be harvested. And they pull it up and they see, and it's like a miracle.
It is.
And then the next time they eat a carrot, there's no doubt they're going to have a different sense of that carrot from that experience.
Totally, 100%. Agreed, 100%. It's so nice to have a connection with your food, and when something has such a history like turmeric does, it's just, that it's obviously very much respected, and that the history and the culture, there's such a connection to it because it's been used for thousands of years, right? I think that it's just so incredible when something keeps coming forward as humanity evolves, right? So I love it. And the Ayurveda thing too, it's so beautiful to see, this kind of coming forward again. And people are really wanting to learn how to listen to their bodies and take care of themselves and use food to help, support their health and, use food to help and spices to help with, making the nutrient quality of their food as good as they can. Like, I do think people are really wanting that now.
Yes.
And so that's where this is great to, have this understanding of this. So one thing we were talking about earlier, so some people want to know what's the difference between curcumin and turmeric, because you see them both and, often people ask that question.
Yes, it's a great question. Thanks. So I think a lot of times people think that curcumin and turmeric might be the same thing.
Yeah.
But the explanation is super easy. It's just that turmeric is the whole plant, right? So we talked about like ginger is this root. It's connected to turmeric, which is also a root, except it's more kind of orange colored. So think about turmeric. That's the plant. It's a root. It's used as a food, as a medicine. And then you look at all the components of turmeric, right? Because plants are amazing. Even an orange, you look at the hundreds of components of an orange, you look at all the compounds in turmeric. One of those compounds, and you could kind of say the star player, like the star compound of turmeric is curcumin. So consequently, curcumin's received a lot of attention. It's definitely been the subject of a lot of different research and studies. And so what some supplement companies have chosen to do is to take that one compound that's kind of considered sort of the star of turmeric. No, I'm sitting on it. So taking curcumin out of turmeric and putting it in a supplement. And then other people say, well, wait a minute. And that's kind of, I got to say that I'm in the camp of maybe let's think about plants and think about how plants work, and that we're learning so much every day about plant medicine, right? But there's also a lot that we are still learning and that we still don't know. And so in the case of MegaFood, for example, we have the whole turmeric root, but it's standardized to a certain level of curcumin. And in my mind, that's the best of both worlds, because the fact is people are looking for curcumin, right? And they're looking for a certain level of curcumin. And so they want that in their supplement. And we also say, okay, let's put in the whole understanding, like the holism, the whole plant, the whole root, standardized to a certain level of curcumin. And that's what you'll see in our turmeric strength line. So we have turmeric strength for whole body, turmeric strength for joint, and turmeric strength for liver. So there's three of the supplements that are standardized. And for me, that's what I take. I've got my turmeric strength for whole body right here. I take it every day. And as a naturopathic doctor, I love that, because I like the standardized part, but I also like including the whole root. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes even when I've taken turmeric, it'll be more the curcumin and then it'll be the whole. So it's nice to just have that clarification. And so if someone is, looking and say they, go, wow, well, there's the three options. I'm kind of dealing with a bit of all three. Like, is there a suggestion for like which one to start with or which one to focus on, if they can kind of identify with all three of the different kinds that you guys have?
Yes. I think that really the most important thing, because we are all individuals. And so it's really important to check in with your primary care provider. They're the ones that know you best, hopefully been working with you. I know, like the doctor I work with, had the opportunity to work with her for 15 years. They know you, it's just, and so a lot of times when I'm on podcasts and radio shows, I'll get asked questions and I'll say, we can talk about the features and benefits of the different ones to hopefully help guide you. But at the end of the day, the best thing to do is really chat with your healthcare provider. So that being said, their turmeric strength for whole body is a really great sort of broad based. It's the one that I take. It has the farm fresh turmeric root. We talked about it delivers a certain amount of curcumin per serving. It's actually 475 milligrams. And one thing that we haven't talked about is the addition of bioperine. So bioperine is this black pepper extract, and it helps support the absorption of curcumin. And you might be like, well, why is that important? Well, it's interesting because when you look at curries, going back to traditional use, a lot of times they have black pepper in them, right? So if we just take turmeric by itself without either the black pepper, or sometimes another way that can help potentiate this is a lipid, so like a fat. And so that's part of the interesting part of golden milk, especially if you're using something that has, a decent amount of fat, like coconut milk or even cow milk, which is a good amount of fat. We want to help curcumin and turmeric. Again, they're not the same, but both of those getting into the whole system. Otherwise, it tends to stay more in the GI tract.
Right.
And so having the bioperine in a supplement is really nice because that, like I said, that helps with the systemic absorption. And so that's why, the supplements, they kind of, if you're working with a company you trust, in MegaFood, one of our pillars is really our quality and our quality assurance, is that I like to think, we've got your back in terms of understanding the nature of the science. We got a whole team of people working on this to get that amount of turmeric with the curcumin, the bioperine, like those elements that you are looking for in a turmeric supplement. And, for me, I'm starting to really regard turmeric as part of my foundational supplement program. Really am. So it's like, what do you really actually take on a daily basis? So if someone asks me, and it's a fair question, because as a naturopathic doctor and as the medical director, people ask me all the time, what do you take? And what do you give your son? And it's such a good question, because it's kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? It's like, what are you doing? And I take a multi, I take a probiotic, and I take turmeric every single day.
Yeah.
And right now I feel like I'm pretty good with my essential fatty acids because I'm incorporating a fair amount of fish and flax and walnuts and all that. But if I wasn't, I would, consider an essential fatty acid too. So that's interesting, because I think traditionally people not always think of turmeric as foundational, but that's where I'm at. And Amber, it's awesome. It's really a place that I've honestly just arrived at more in the last few years of just being like, what, this is going to be part of my daily protocol or my daily routine, I guess a better way. The other thing, Amber, that I wanted to touch base on is that we know that in modern times, people are also getting some pill or tablet fatigue, where they're just thinking, okay, I'm taking all these different things and supplements. And so one of the things I wanted to mention is that I think right now it's really great to be able to offer people different options.
Yes.
And we do have a daily nutrient booster powder, which has turmeric.
Awesome.
And it's so nice because that you also get a little more of that. Remember we talked about sort of connecting with the plant, seeing it, smelling it. I know that I do a green smoothie every day. And I think particularly right now, I was just talking with my husband about this, that routines are really kind of more important than ever. A healthy routine. It's just a way of keeping you grounded and feeling that stability. And I think as we move more into the fall and winter months, and we talked about seasonal changes, that those seasonal changes are also an opportunity to get more grounded into routine. And sometimes people will think of smoothies as kind of a summer thing. But if you do incorporate, and that's where the ginger I was showing you actually came from, our morning smoothie, like a little bit of ginger, and you can do pear and apple and some of these fall fruits, and, even moving into the winter. And then a daily nutrient booster powder, the daily turmeric nutrient booster powder, can just be a different way. I really always love to give people options of just connecting that to your nutrition or your daily smoothie. So that's one option. And then the other one is pretty popular, and also another way to kind of like taste the root, is the gummies. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to like broaden that conversation out a little bit for people that may be thinking, oh, I'd love to take turmeric, but right. I don't want to add a couple more. For me, it's worth it. I really do love this. This can become a mainstay, but I also want to meet people where they're at. And I think that's really important to offer. We see different options for people.
Oh, that's so important. So how does turmeric help inflammation in the body? Because obviously it's really great for that.
Yeah. So what we talk about is it's supporting healthy inflammation in the body. And the way that it does that is honestly the subject of a lot of ongoing research. I know that here in the States, the National Institute of Health has ongoing research where they're looking at different pathways in the body and how turmeric and curcumin, sometimes the whole plant is studied, turmeric. And then I mentioned earlier that curcumin's been the subject of a lot of studies. Mm-hmm. So there's still more to be learned around that. We know that it's basically supporting healthy inflammation. And I think that it's important to frame up that inflammation is one of those processes in the body that is something that our body does. It's not necessarily anything that we want to say like inflammation's bad. I mean, we've all had the experience of bumping our knee or, tripping or where our body comes and has a response. It's just, we want to support a healthy inflammation response. And I often talk about that similarly to our stress response, because stress in and of itself is also not bad. Our stress response is intended to protect us. And it's just how we are responding to stress. And so it's kind of like, sometimes that helps people bridge that gap, because they think like, yeah, I get that. Like a healthy response to stress, I'm really working on that. And then with turmeric, we look at a healthy inflammation response. So it's really kind of supporting our body, optimizing these functions that our body has. And so doing this in a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, can you OD on turmeric? Is there such a thing as taking too much of it?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to stay within guidelines, and certainly within our MegaFood supplements. And again, you want to check in with your healthcare provider, but we stay within acceptable, what's considered very appropriate guidelines with turmeric. Again, keeping in mind it's a food. It does have a good safety profile for some people. It may cause if they are having too much for them, because we're all individuals. Not usually so much I've seen with the supplements. I've actually seen this more with food, with people being like, sometimes we have a tendency as humans to go more is better, and people just starting to go like turmeric everything. I mean, it's going to become really popular. I'm sure you see that that's where you live, turmeric lattes and turmeric. I'm going to put turmeric in my everything. I'm going to sprinkle some turmeric in my yogurt. Yeah. So I have seen some people, if they're eating lots and lots of turmeric, especially quickly and suddenly, get a little bit of GI, just upset, just from, you have to think that these compounds, ginger can be the same. Even though ginger has a reputation for soothing an upset stomach, but ginger is very warming. And so if you want to just keep in mind that these plants have these properties, and you don't want to necessarily do ginger everything, turmeric everything. So.
Balance, right? It's all about balance.
It's all about balance, whether it's in your diet or in your supplements too.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
The balance that's right for you, and just finding that combination. And that's why it's great to have an ally on the path. And part of that are these wonderful podcasts like yours that bring education to people. And I think I love how podcasts have become so popular. I listen to them myself at my son's soccer game. Sometimes I'll just walk around, or his practice, and I think that podcasts have such an opportunity to educate, and then people can take that information and go even further. And that's when like you can take that information. I know I do this all the time, and then go work with your partner. Some people think oh, you're a naturopathic doctor. I'm like, yeah. And I don't treat myself. I actually have this amazing medical doctor that I work with that we do integrative work together, and I'll go to her and I'll be like, I'm thinking about this. I want to do this. What's your perspective? And that's why we need allies. We need on this healing path. We do, all of us, no matter who you are, no matter how much you know. You need that perspective, and also even objectivity that we can't have about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think the key with that is that the person is fully 100% supportive of the journey that you want to go on, because Definitely. Sometimes people aren't supported going to see there, right? So you have to make sure that ally is really on board with you and really takes a stand for your health just as much as you do.
I completely agree. It's about finding the right person.
Yeah.
And I totally own that takes time. Sometimes, sure. Right? Like any other big decision that we make in life, it takes some time. It takes some research. Boy, aren't we lucky to have like our community of friends and family, because that's where really all my best recommendations have come from. Our pediatrician, who's been with my son from day of his birth, is a dear friend recommendation. Nice. So it's like you network and use your community, and like you've created this great community even on your Instagram page and all these places. I mean, we have this opportunity right now more than ever. Mm-hmm. We have to keep in mind to create real like live community to, in a way that's safe right now. And then we have all these online resources too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's great. And I think that, with podcasts and things like that, it really gives people an opportunity to feel out someone, their personality. What are they sharing? Is it relatable? Do I feel safe listening to this person? Do I foresee myself trusting them? Right. Yes. Like it's so beautiful to, whether it's video, audio, content post sharing, because you will attract those people who, you're in alignment with. So is there anything else that you'd like to share about the turmeric? Anything we've missed before we wrap up today?
I don't think so. I just think, turmeric is this amazing plant. Like, I like to talk about the power of turmeric and this ancient history in India. Think of people 4,000 years ago in India eating turmeric and ingesting turmeric, and that we have this opportunity today. And, what I often say, there's something that maybe a new perspective for people is, aren't we lucky? Because I look at the history of all these plants like turmeric, holy basil, ashwagandha, and we are able to utilize them in our nutrition, in our supplements, to bring them into our lives. Mm-hmm. And so it's a great opportunity we have, as part of our overall health and wellness.
Oh, 100%. And, the earth produces such amazing, natural medicine, really, right? Like for us to use. So I think it's, it's obviously no coincidence that we, even 4,000 years later, have access to this beautiful plant and all of its great properties and qualities. So if people are interested in learning more about the turmeric and the different supplements you recommended, where can they go to find this information?
Yes, thank you. I think one of the best places to go is MegaFood.com. So that's MEGAFOOD.com. And I've been the medical director at MegaFood for 9 years, and it's been so fun to see the evolution of our website. I really feel so confident recommending as an educational resource there. So not only could you learn more about the specifics, like the turmeric strength for whole body or the daily nutrient booster powder or the gummies, we also have all kinds of blogs on there, including blogs about turmeric. And so you can learn more. Sometimes people like to read something that they maybe listen to. I know I do sometimes like to go back and read about something that I've just listened to. So just check out that blog section of that website too, because it's a great resource for turmeric and lots of other things. I think it can help demystify some of the supplement world in general. So yeah, megafood.com is a good place to go.
Awesome. I will definitely be sure to add that information into the show notes so that people can click right through and go and check out blogs and learn all they want about turmeric. So thank you, Erin, for being on the podcast today. I'm super grateful that we could do this.
Thank you, Amber. It was such a pleasure. I hope that we can chat again soon.
Me too. We'll have to get into maybe the holy basil and ashwagandha, and I feel like it could just be like plant 101.
That would be fun. I love that. Love that.
So thank you again for Erin for being on the show today. The show notes for today's episode can be found at amberapproved.ca/podcast/260. Make sure to check out megafood.com and learn more about turmeric and all the incredible products that they have. If you have questions, feedback, or podcast ideas, you can submit them to info@amberapproved.ca. Be sure to also visit amberapproved.ca to take the emotional eating quiz, learn more about body freedom, and of course, take advantage of the coaching sale that's still happening for 6-month and 1-year coaching programs, which you can click the link in the show notes to book a call and connect with me. Last but not least, remember there's no better time than the present to take action on your health. So take action now. Have a beautiful day, a great weekend. I will look forward to sharing a new podcast with you guys next Sunday, solo episode. So grateful for all you guys for being here, and we'll chat with you again next week. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, review, and rate this podcast and share it with your friends. You can find me at amberapproved.ca and follow me on Instagram and YouTube at Amber Romaniuk. Join me next Sunday for another brand new episode and another step toward body freedom.